Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Tasha again. I'm here to review Preachers of L.A. Season 1, Episode 2. Now, this pretty much looks like it picked off maybe a couple days after what went down at Bishop McLaren's, man cave event with you have Minister Dietrich and Pretty Boy Tony, also known as Bishop McClendon, Mr. I also known as I Am Everything, had a little disagreement that could have seemed like it went worse. Now, we also most of this episode we got introduced to, a little bit more of, Bishop Noel and his back, a little bit more of his background, and it seems like he also, we just got a little bit more of him. It was more focused on him. A little bit we had also Pastor Jay, his wife as well was in there a little bit, but they really weren't there that much. And of course, we had Minister Dietrich was singing, and then we also had at the end Bishop Robert Gibson, also known as the Whispers member mustache. I'm sorry, that mustache it just stands out on its own. But he kind of was there a lot, but like I said, we didn't see Pastor Wayne much, and we didn't see Pretty Boy Tony Bishop McClendon. It wasn't really there too much neither. And it was kind of like really focused on for really, like I said, with Bishop Noel Jones. And he has JJ, which is his dog, that looks fabulous in pink, by the way. But okay, we have Pretty Boy Tony, Bishop McClendon, come in, and he's basically giving his side of the story what happened to Man Cave, because Bishop Noel has heard that that there was some little argument and stuff going down on at the event of Bishop bleh, tongue twister, Bishop Gibson's event. And he's just sitting there, of course, giving his own version. Of course, he's still sticking to his guns. But the story changes a little bit, because I did notice that he did not seem to mention that that he kind of belittled Diedrich, not also like his age. And if, let's say, for example, Minister Diedrich was young, does that kind of like push off like his opinion does not matter, or his beliefs, because he's quote quote young? I mean, every day, as long as we're able to, we wake up and we can concentrate, and so forth. Every day we wake up on this earth, and God bless us another day to live. We can learn something, and we're blessed that sometimes we can learn something new or add something. I'm just saying that just because if he was quote quote young, should he be disrespected? I don't, I know there's a saying that we are supposed to respect our elders, but to kind of like dismiss what he was saying because he had a disagreed of him with his entourage, um, him needing an entourage more so, that he kind of need to be disrespected, then kind of even kind of like, just put down or try to say he wasn't intelligent. So you're disrespecting him in terms of his age and his intelligent level based on because he challenged you in some ways, and kind of was like one of those situations like how dare he disagree type of situations. He kind of like I said, there's you run into people every day that feels like if you disagree with them, they get really defensive. But that part was not mentioned to Bishop Noel at all by Pretty Boy Bishop McLaren, because he made sure he did not want to bring that up. It was definitely left out. So, anyways, just make sure, Bishop Noel, wants it to where it can be smoothed over, hopefully in the future. And Bishop McLaren, it's like whatever. But I don't know, say if they will eventually in the season. I don't know how many episodes. I haven't looked it up. But maybe they might be able to smooth it over. I don't know. But it's just that, Bishop McLaren just felt like, I did nothing wrong with somebody, of course, opposing me or opposing, me, my, ministry, my, way I preach and so forth, whatever. There's a problem. That was his defense. Okay, that was a scene. Honestly, they could have just left, in the lost scenes or something, or in between commercial, the little scene at the end, because it was kind of really irrelevant. Um, like I said, I think it jumps from Pastor J, and it's an interesting situation because he ends up getting a call from a member of his church that was, used to be a young lady, and now she was, a pro skater, so like skateboard stuff like that. And this interesting information turns out, because at first it was kind of hard, what's going on. I was like, it's a child, because he was just like really shocked. It was kind of hard for him to say like what was going on with the situation. And then around that time, there's a young pastor. I first thought maybe it might have been his son or something, comes in. It was named by, I think his name was Cody. And he was saying, brought up that now April, who's the girl's name, is now having a sex change and it's going to go, I don't think they mentioned name by, by that time, David. Automatically, Cody's like this. I feel uncomfortable with this situation. And then, even though Pastor Jay's wife, kind of was, of course, shocked as well, her whole thing is still, just the situation. We still have to, give love and teach, the person, God's ways and so forth, guide them to, God, follow God, and so forth. And he just is still in shocks, but he wasn't like flat out like Cody was, which is like, I'm uncomfortable with the situation. He just, which, that situation is, pretty heavy to hear. He's still just like, just kind of blank and just seeing, where to go after hearing that circumstance. Because now David does actually, I guess, wants to come back to the church because of the circumstances. He feels possibly uncomfortable of coming back because, the judgment, just the issues with terms of coming to that, especially when you're doing a sex change. And so the thing is that it kind of goes on obviously because, like I said, this episode was kind of like just until the end. But I do want to get into, you have like they went to the background with Bishop Noah Jones. You seen him getting prepared, and JJ again, she is everywhere. I did not know she even follows him right sometimes before he does, but right before he does some of his services and preaches whatever, she's sitting in a chair with him, with him and everything, and just sitting in the back, and he gives us the sermons, and he just says what else we do. Now, when he ends up leaving, um, and the guy, he's his security and slash driver, and he was just talking about, how his schedule was so messed up, and basically his security slash driver is trying to say, you've been doing this because, this man's been doing it over 40 some years, ever since he was 18 or 19 years old, but just, doing sermons and preaching so much, and so he's basically telling him like, slow down, and everybody keeps wondering when he's going to get married again because, he was married for 22 years. But I noticed I thought I've got to say is he, I don't know if, say, since that marriage or whatever, that he's going through like a extended midlife crisis, if you will call it, because somehow, well, there's not everybody, despite what you think, is called, gets married or, needs to be married, but I mean, that's my personal opinion. But in his case, it just seems like, for whatever reason, he's just like, I'm a ladies' man. It's like he's a ladies' man, but it's not really exposed or brought out. And it kind of like, because he is a bishop, kind of like put it under the rug that he's a ladies' man. And maybe that's the reason why he kind of like, this marriage, because he actually loves the single life, literally the single life. And so, the guy's talking to him, and the driver, driver security person is she talking to him about, are you going to get married to that one? Keep forgetting her name because, I don't know why, because the simple fact is, one minute she says like, oh, we don't have to go by a title, but indirectly, did she wants to be titled? Are we going to be more than just except being friends? Well, really, it's friend with benefits, okay? But he's saying, basically saying like, she's pretty, she dressed fabulous. What about her? Bishop Noah, like I said, kind of always brushes off, answering that question. Okay, so anyways, we're going back and forth in between that situation. You got now you got Bishop Ron coming in again for a second because him and his wife are talking, because since you got Minister Deidre's about to get married to Dominique, his fiance Dominique. Him and his wife are, going to have a dinner, basically talk to him, and I think, this is an option that he wants to actually mentor um them as a couple, or maybe separate, I don't know. But before then, like I said, we're going to more Bishop Noel's um you know life or whatever, more background on him. And then of course you have to see JJ. She seems to be the only female that he's fully committed to, because she's the only one that stays in the house with him. And we see his friend with benefits, of course. And it turns out that actually they opened up a restaurant, which is which they're partners and whatever with each other. And it turns out, interesting enough, that this it's named after JJ. Okay. Anyways, um, besides that, of course, again, she keeps bringing up on and off. It's a couple times she keeps bringing up again is about their status, but then she tries to play it off like it doesn't bother, because she tries to say, on a scale 1 to 10, if friend is 5 and girlfriend's 10, I'm at 30. No, you're practically not, because in that case, if you were um not even say if you weren't already married, he doesn't claim you for anything to a certain extent. It's like you will be quote quote his main woman or whatever, but he doesn't want to be in a fully committed relationship with you. He wants it where I like you enough where I'll do this and this with you, but I'm not gonna be fully committed. I still want that door open where I'm allowed to see other ladies. And so they have a scene in between where we have Bishop Noel's parents from the Himalayas family comes along. I think his mom, his brother, his sister-in-law, his 2 sons. But I know he said family, but I don't, like I said, I don't know if he had kids or not. But he didn't have. I don't know if he does have children. He still has contact with them or whatever the case is. So basically, even when his brother no Bishop Noah's brother comes to the door, he already has this look on his face like, whatever. Not to say like brushing off his brother or anything, but you could tell like it used to be somewhat some sibling rivalry, in which they bring up like mom used to have you as your her fave and all that other type of stuff. But it was okay and stuff like that. But the thing is that they were talking again about, is he thinking about marriage again and stuff. And of course, no, Bishop Noel, it almost kind of looks of getting married now, or even being committed at all, in a sense of a romantic relationship, whatever, as being somewhat like a death wish. So, like I said, it's kind of like they were just talking a little bit about it. So it was kind of, a little cute scene, that just went. Okay, again we go back and forth. It was a couple more times, and like I said, again, Pastor Jay and his wife talk a little bit about the incident. Talk about what they're going to do with the situation when it comes terms of you know the sex change, who used to be April, David, who used to be April, now he's David. And still the thing is, they're not sitting here and flat out saying, "Oh, it's disgusting, disturbing." They're making the worst mistake in their life, but they're still trying to wonder, like, how we're going to do still to help this person, guide him to go to God. And so Pastor Day does end up talking to David, and at first he actually avoids like just saying his name, because the thing is, especially since he knew David is April so long, for so many, who knows how many years, that David was going as April to the church. So mentally, if you know something for so long and stuff like that, a person, a thing, or whatever, routine, you just don't break out of it. It takes time. So it still would be him having to be, adjusting to that somewhat. But David explained, like, he knows, he started going to another church. And it was because you can even tell he was somewhat first kind of like uncomfortable to a certain extent, because he didn't know how, Pastor Jay was going to take him, especially see him as a him. And he ends up, basically saying what is David ends up saying was really important, because the Pastor Jay asked him, what he wants to do. And basically he's just like, just the important thing is, please just call me David. I know it's hard, and stuff like that. And so Pastor Jay still says he wants to be able, and that he's able to come to church, and he wants to guide with you still, help him follow where he know connection with God. So the thing is, I guess in the future, that David will go back to church. So that end scene there, and also That that I think that's the last we've seen Pastor Jay in the episode. I do notice though, I think doesn't Pastor Jay have a Range Rover? The reason why I'm bringing this in is basically for what we've seen so far. I don't know, and it's too early to say. As far as we see, Pastor J is kind of like the less flashiest out of the preachers so far, or maybe I'm just over. But I'm just saying when you see beginning form, you see Bishop Noel's futuristic. I mean, that's you need home and all that, and we already seen everybody else's. You know what? Have we seen Minister Diedrich's home? We just see him keep going to his fiance's mom's house and stuff, but I don't have they shown his home or car or anything. I mean, I think we've seen the car, but he's kind of like he keeps that secretive or something. But at least right now, I don't know. I just know that's the only home we have not seen. But as far as I know, out 5 out of 6, yeah, I think this one, two, three, four, five. Yeah, I think out of the 6, Pastor J seems to be the less. They live nicely, but it didn't look like ravishing, like lifestyles, the rich and famous, slash, like I said, my last review, the gospel MTV version of Cribs. So we will see, but I'm just like, if any of y'all was able to see that, because I really didn't see like him being as flashy, but like I said, you never know, but I just noticed that this episode, because I mean, Bishop Nowhere looked like he had Picasso's. I mean, that wasn't the art, but I'm just saying famous artist statues back there. It was just lavish, luxurious stuff in there. Okay, but let's get down to after we're dealing with Bishop Jones again and Bishop Jones and his lady friend meeting up, and again this thing about indirectly talking about the title. Oh, I'm not trying to say about the title, but she keeps making hints about concern about their relationship and where it stands. Okay. So anyways, um she was asking, well, your family was over? Yeah. Well, how was the dinner? Well, how, this is the lady, whatever, his lady friend. Well, how does your mom feel about me? And he's kind of like, well, why does it matter? Is it important to what my mom feels about you? She's like, yes, well, it'd be important what my mom feels about you. But that's what I'm saying is this whole thing is, one minute you're saying you don't want a fully committed relationship with them, but then the next minute you don't. And just make a long story short, after that little conversation, he was saying that he had to go to bed. And then it just edited, you don't know if she goes out the door or goes to his bedroom door, or you know what I mean? So what I'm saying is that again, it's almost like because he is a bishop, they kind of make it seem like he is, I mean, not to say it's not possible, but in this particular situation, like he just has this platonic relationship with this woman, and that's it. Okay, that's it. That's all I have to say. Oh, next step. Yeah. So, the past math. Oh my gosh. You could tell. I probably need to go to bed, or had one of them days. Anyways, we got Minister Diedrich, and he's going to pick up his fiance, and I swear it's like almost like he's picking up his date from high school or for the prom or something. The reason why I say that is because considering that they already have a daughter, okay, and they both are grown, okay, and it's just the way how it's set up. I understand the word about image, but I'm just saying, like I said, they already have a child, so whatever. Okay, let's go to the scene. So when he's waiting on Dominique, whatever. Oh, I forgot earlier. One thing about it, I think it was just on the point because I just was trying to brush out Pretty Boy and the incident. And it was beginning scene in the beginning of the episode where you have Dominique and Minister Diedrich at the studio, and she was basically asking him, decide to ask him then, not through a phone call or anything, because they don't live together. But I'm just saying, I noticed she had to ask him in the studio in front of other folks about the incident, what occurred. And I guess he was in just paraphrasing what he was saying. Basically, the guy was coming to him, in a disrespectful way. That's it. That's pretty much all it was. And then, of course, Dominique is saying, I pray that hopefully y'all can resolve this issue and just move on. So they're there. Okay. Back to the scene where Minister Diedrich is picking up Dominique from her mom's house, and Dominique's mom named Faye, is having a talk with him. Basically, I mean, they seem to have a hot, cool relation, but it's really not that bad because the way they talk to each other, they seem like it's like kid around. But I hate to see what her face was like when she found out she was pregnant. That's all I have to say. But I'm just saying overall is that she comes, she's basically giving him like coming to him like, it's the first time being married, you're not gonna treat her right, type of things, don't hurt my baby, she don't have a dad in the picture, blah blah blah, and it's my job to let you know don't do her that certain way, And but like I said, it's still maybe it's just me, but the way it just seems set up, it just seems like it's that they're two high schoolers and one lives with their parent because they're under the age of 18. Um, That's just me because, like I said, he's sitting here picking up visiting his family slash picking up his family, and it's not a situation because they're living here because it's some, like financial reason or nothing like that. It's because of people worried about imagery and stuff to a certain point. Because I'm just thinking, like, why does it matter? Like I said, I know I'm sidetracking, repeating what I said. We all see. Okay, so to make a long story, they go to the go with Bishop Ron Gibson and his wife, and they have dinner, or right before they have dinner, and have a little conversation. And this is where we start to notice, maybe throughout the entire season, we begin to notice that Minister Diedrich has sort of a hot head, and he kind of like whatever, or fed up, or whatever the case is. But he has a little bit of the minor temper because one of the things, because Minister Deidre seems to be upset about how these preachers are preaching and stuff like that. Almost like he's not trying to say they're hypocrites, but he just is kind of like in a way he's sick and tired of, hip the BS that comes along with a lot of these preachers preaching and what they say, and they ain't found the Bible or they're prejudging people, whatever the case is. Because one of the things that he was standing out is because he was starting to get frustrated about um, even just the comment with Bishop Ron talking about, don't, basically like don't, if you have a negative engagement, he didn't exactly say those words. I forgot the words. You will have a negative wedding. Of course, even Minister Deach then was getting kind of a little frustrated about like, what do you mean by that? And then, oh Lord, when Bishop Ron brought up about him and wondering where they shacking. And, that's when Mr. Diedrich really was just, just really ticked off about being asked that. And he just felt like, what does shacking have anything to do with Bible? Then, to me, as far as I'm concerned, he's still also a little bit frustrated that he wasn't able to vent more, or, though I don't know what um he was going to do to pretty boy Bishop McClendon, but I'm just saying overall is that it seemed like it was because then he had to tell like, of course I know the Bible, y'all ain't teaching the Bible, I have a doctorate degree, and y'all don't know the Bible, I know the Bible too, but y'all ain't preaching out the Bible, blah blah blah. It just seemed like he had to list his credentials and whatever tells him levels, and it just seems like, I don't know, just maybe just to be, but it seemed like this is something he also wanted to say to Bishop McClendon, unless they edit that out or something, because, like I said, that's one of the things that he brought up in the last episode, Bishop Prettyboy did, was kind of like doing this to him, as far, and even down to the telling label, and because if he's quote, quote, younger. And it just seemed like it was getting carried away, but then when Bishop Ron was just trying to let him know, like, I'm not basically trying to come at you the wrong way or anything. We go through problems. And it just seemed like Minister Dietrich was kind of like felt a little bit better, only because the fact that he brought up, like, we all go through things, this is my high school sweetheart and blah, blah, blah. And, they did try to bring up, like, she helped me get better because, helped me realize that I had to get better. Let me rephrase that. Because, he's had to change on his own. Everybody does. And we had Minister G with his fiance Dominique was saying like, at first he was a hothead, and I'm thinking like, okay, he kind of still shows that. I hate to see what it was beforehand, but she's saying like basically, he's, I guess, like a good person inside that's just rough around the edges, and he has changed a lot, and that's what Deidre, kind of calmed him down. And also, like I said, with Bishop Ron saying, like, even him and his wife go to a marriage counselor. Like we have problems, and he does want to minister to him, and kind of like after that, mm, whatever. I don't think did anything really happen too much, but that was, like I said, that was some main things that show, like I said, he was a little out heated because he's still over this thing about this shacking up thing, because he's like, that's not even in the Bible. And this is Oxygen, or even just most of these shows nowadays, to get people to tune in. Now, this editing was horrible, okay? Now, if y'all pay attention to commercials, or I mean, not the commercials, but the previews, for the next, when it comes off a commercial break type of thing, and they decide to bring up, when he's dropping off Dominique at her mom's house, and they cut it to this. Like, I'm sick and tired of this, and then just have him drive away somebody, kiss my baby for me. But when you actually see the scene, it's nothing like that. He says those words. He's sick and tired because he's dropping Dominique and stuff off. He's sick and tired of his family. He goes to bed alone, and his family is across town from him, and he's just sick and tired of like having to that arrangement that they're in, like because of circumstances. They can't live with him, or shack up with him. Basically, he can't shack up with Dominique unless they're married. Or I mean, he can't live with her. Let me rephrase that, unless they are married. And so, she's, they got a month away. He just, like I said, he's just saying that he was sick and tired of this, and he told her he loved her and kissed my baby. But he's just saying like this. I forgot this one thing. Sorry, I would just brush my keyboard off. But it was one interesting thing he did bring up, is that he had the nerve to say, he was like, now fornication and adultery were in the thing. I forgot to mention that he did say about, he did follow. I forgot at the dinner when Bishop Ron was speaking, he was talking about following the guy's blueprint during for marriage, and that's what Minister D was saying. Like, he basically doesn't want to follow these so-called rules, because he did that, and a year um later, when he was married the first time, it was broken. I guess maybe that's what he was about to say about this infidelity, and I guess it must have came from his ex-wife's side, for what I'm getting, but it never went into it. But cut back to the story. So he's saying, about that he knows that he was like, he was in the Bible, and he said fornication and adultery is a sin. But he's like, shacking up. He was like, because his whole big thing is, what does shacking up have to do with anything? And also, it has nothing to do with the Bible. It's not in the Bible. But I'm thinking like, for him to know adultery is, I mean, fornication is a sin. But he kind of just brushed it off, and I'm thinking like, well, that's what y'all did, and y'all probably are still doing it now. When he picks up once in a while, a couple times a week, probably. I don't know. You know what I mean? So, it kind of, like I said, just ends with that. So that's my review, everybody. It really wasn't too much going on besides snippets, and we got to see, Bishop Noel's little bit of his background and his little life, most of this episode, besides snippets of a couple more preachers and, bishops, whatever. So y'all have a good night, and I'm off.